Hello. Welcome to the Whittemore Peterson Institute's webinar, Energy Management and Chronic Illness. I'm your host, Annette Whittemore, president of the Whittemore Peterson Institute in Reno, Nevada. Today, I'm joined by our co-host, Staci Stevens, the founder of Workwell Foundation, hi Staci, and co-vice president of the International Association of CFS and Me. Staci holds a bachelor's degree in sports medicine and a master's degree in exercise physiology from the University of the Pacific in Stockton, California. Ms. Stevens, in conjunction with Workwell Foundation's research team, pioneered the use of the 2-day cardiopulmonary exercise testing, or CPET, in myalgic encephalomyelitis chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME/CFS, to document the hallmark clinical feature of this illness called post-exertional malaise. Hi, Staci. Thank you for being our guest today. And now we'll let Staci start her presentation.
Okay, and that's going to flip me over. Hello, everybody. Today we're talking about energy management in chronic illness. And my hope is that whether you're new to being chronically ill or you've been ill for decades, that you'll come away with something new, a new idea, a new strategy that you can use today to help you feel better. I want to just first thank Annette for having me. Thank you, Annette, for the great work the WPI is doing. I want to thank each and every one of you that is attending. Your time and energy are so precious. I appreciate you sharing that with me today. The recording will be made available after the talk. So the last thing I want to do is make you sicker and flare up your symptoms. And so if you can only listen for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes, that's fine. I've always kind of wanted to mute the speaker. So if you get tired, just turn me off. You can come back to me later. We'll send a link out and you can watch the rest of the video. So really important to pace yourself during this. The last thing here is that questions are welcome. There's a little chat bar. And if you have questions that arise about anything that I'm talking about, please feel free to ask. We'll have a question and answer period at the end.
Oh, Staci, just a moment real quickly. And I'm sorry I did not make that announcement, but the questions should go down in the question area. So when you scroll down, you'll see there's a little area to ask questions. It's better than the chat box. The chat box will be a little bit harder to keep track of. And we are going to have a question and answer session at the end of your presentation. However, if we cannot answer all of your questions in our 1 hour time limit, we'd be happy to send them on to Staci if you will just email them to info@wpinstitute.org. And then don't forget to take the poll before the webinar ends so that we can learn a little bit more about you and what you'd like to have us do in future talks. Thank you.
Thanks, Annette.
You're welcome.
So today I'd like to dedicate my talk to a dear friend. His name is John Trussler, and John has been severely ill with ME/CFS for more than 30 years. And so he said, Staci, I really would like to attend your talk, but I don't have enough energy to watch the whole thing. So I really appreciate if you could record it. And so that's one of the reasons we're recording it. And John is near and dear to my heart. Love you, John. And so I want to give some things that will be helpful for him, but for you as well. Here are my objectives for you today. Why should I do energy management? I'll answer that question for you. I'm going to start with top tips, really, and give you a load of my most helpful tips for saving energy to help you function better. And then with ME/CFS, or if you happen to be a COVID long hauler, the same principles will apply, or any other chronic illness. But there are things that you really need to know if you want to manage the illness well. We'll talk about those. And then we'll discuss some key concepts so that by the end, you can hopefully pull it all together and have a few great tips that you can implement today or this week. Okay, so let's start with the why. ME/CFS, chronic illness in general, the illness is really difficult to control. You don't know when you have energy. when it's going to come and go. And so if you can develop a measure of control, you can really reduce your symptoms and begin to have some reliable energy that you can count on. This in turn will really help improve your quality of life. Well, what is energy conservation? And I think this is a secret. Most people don't even know what the term is. It is the process of saving energy and better distributing the energy you have over the time you need to use it. This is typically the area of expertise for occupational therapists or physical therapists. But if you've never had occasion to need that service, you won't even have heard about it. And it's a whole field, and it's fantastic. It's like this little secret weapon. Annette, I don't know if it's possible for you to mute your microphone, but I think that might be helpful. I can kind of hear movement in the background.
You can hear movement? Okay. Sorry. Oh, I was going to say, could you turn your sound up just a little bit?
I can, absolutely.
And I will turn mine down.
Anything else we need?
Was that better?
Yeah. How? Can you hear me?
Okay.
Great.
I have Staci. It looks like I have to keep mine up in order to hear you better. So
okay,
I might be controlling the sound from my end.
Probably.
Okay.
All right. Onward. Now, this approach, what I'm going to be sharing with you, it's really counterintuitive. I have to tell my patients, you have to think differently. Take your head off, flip it upside down, turn it around backwards, because this is not the do more, do more activity. It's the opposite approach. It's less is more. And most people will just kind of roll their eyes. Yeah. So if you're thinking about, are you serious? Absolutely. These things can really make a substantial difference in your quality of life. What are these tips? Well, my number one tip here is online shopping. It is easier than ever to shop online. And so if you have the ability to do that, absolutely shop online. For grocery shopping, you can have your perishables packed separately. Put the frozen items in one bag, the refrigerated items in another. If you don't have the energy to put them away, just put the whole bag in. And you can unload them as you are able and when you have energy. Use a disabled parking placard. My area of expertise is cardiopulmonary exercise testing. And the research studies that we have done have shown that our patients are moderately to severely impaired. And when we look at those classifications, they're the same classifications that are used for heart failure patients. When you bring in a second day exercise test, functional drop another functional level. And so it becomes really important. That blue parking space is for you. So don't hesitate to use it. All you have to do is download the form from your local DMV, have your physician sign it, send it back in, they'll send you a placard. So in addition to parking placards, use any handicap or disabled amenities or services that are available. If they have a motorized lift, you have access to a wheelchair for mobility, please consider using it. Wheelchairs now are fantastic. They have wheelchairs that recline. You can elevate your feet. Anything that you can save energy will allow you to use that energy for something else that you want to do or need to do. Cook ahead. If you're too tired to cook yourself, ask someone else to cook ahead for you, but double a batch. Cook something healthy. I love one-pot meals, one-pan meals, slow cooker meals. And then put it in the freezer. Bring it out as you need it. If you're too tired to eat, drink your calories. So I really thought, probably for the last couple of years, how much energy it takes just to digest your food. And in MECFS, there's all these different metabolomics and gut issues and mitochondrial issues, digestion takes a tremendous amount of energy. So if you're too tired to eat, drink. Replace a meal with a smoothie. Eat broth or soup. Give your gut a break. It will take less energy to digest it, and if you drink a smoothie, you don't have to worry about the energy that it takes to chew. So that's a fantastic help. The other thing that I just love, I've been on a smoothie blender kick, and I love to do a savory smoothie. So be careful of smoothies that have a lot of sugar. Go with the savory, the green smoothies, whatever you would put in a salad. Do a salad smoothie, including dressing. I love a little olive oil, lemon, vinegar, salt. Load it up, make it taste great. They're really, really good. Next, straighten your bed while you're in it. I find that some patients do not care about making the bed. Others are obsessed with it. Like they cannot leave the bedroom unless the bed is made. If you are one of those, straighten your bedding while you are in it. Pull the covers up, flip out the corner, and then hop out, pull it back up, and your bed is made, taking very little energy. Ideally, you will be awake when this happens. Come on. There we go. Use a basket or a backpack to keep items with you. Have everything you need in one place so that you're not looking for your phone. It's in the other room. You got to get up and go to the other room. Your water, where's my water? It's in the other room. If you have it all together in a basket or a backpack and take it from one room to the next, you don't have to constantly get up and go back and forth. Learn to say no. This is the hardest tip. Hardest thing for people to do. People want you to go places, to do things, and most of us always want to say yes. Learning to say no is hard, but it can be one of the best things that you can do to save energy. You could say, thank you so much for that invitation, but no, I really can't do that. The other corollary to this is learn to say no to things that are energy draining and learn to say yes to help, offers of help when you need it. All right, this is my favorite tip, and I get the most positive comments from this one. And it is shower like you are at a spa. Sit down when you shower. It takes 25% less energy to sit down than it does to stand up. So when you're in the shower, take advantage of that. Use a long-handled shower hose to wet yourself. You can use a brush with a long handle to help you reach your feet, your back. This will save you energy. When you get out of the shower or bath, use a terry cloth robe to dry off. And every little thing you do that saves energy stores it up so that you can use it somewhere else. I have my top 10 energy saving tips on our website under resources. This is a PDF that you can download, put it up, give it to friends. Now we are to the things you need to know in ME/CFS. And there are a few crucial ones. And in all of our years of research, we are researching post-exertional malaise and metabolism. And what we have found, boil it all down to, it's broken. The systems that make energy in the body are not working efficiently. And in fact, in some cases, they're not working well at all. Just as a really quick introduction to energy systems, there are two main energy systems. There is aerobic energy, which means with oxygen. Carbon dioxide is the byproduct, and you get a lot of energy from this system. You get 36 energy units, or ATP, whereas in anaerobic metabolism, you can generate energy, but you only get 2. You don't need oxygen, but lactic acid is the byproduct. And when lactic acid is the byproduct, there's pain and fatigue. And in ME/CFS, what we found is that patients shift early into anaerobic metabolism. So they don't have the luxury of lots and lots of energy. They have lactic acid, pain, and fatigue because you're living in the land of 2 ATP instead of 36. What happened? I lost my screen. Okay, here we go. I got it again. There we are. Bunnies and turtles. So I like to explain your aerobic energy system in terms of the turtle. Your turtle is your long, slow system that gives you all the energy you need to get through your day, to get through your daily activities in your week. The problem is your turtle is sick. And if your turtle is sick, great news. You have an emergency energy system. It's your bunny. Your bunny hops quick, but then wipes out. So your bunny is used, you can use your bunny for about 30 seconds, but remember, every time you use your bunny, you have a lactic acid buildup. That lactic acid causes fatigue and pain and shortness of breath. So you have symptoms. So you have to be really, really wise with your bunny and only use her for short intervals. Because your turtle is already sick, if you overuse your bunny, then both of them are going to get sick. So your turtle will be hiding in her shell, and your bunny will be wiped out. So respect your bunny and be kind to your turtle because the energy systems don't work. And this is why walking and aerobic exercise is not helpful. It's because the walking is not aerobic. It's anaerobic. You're not using your turtle. You're using your bunny, and your bunny's not designed to walk for long periods of time. Post-exertional malaise is the next most important thing you need to know about ME/CFS. It is a hallmark feature of the illness. It involves the exacerbation of multiple atypical symptoms. It is occasionally delayed and persists for extended periods. Now, our group has been thinking in terms of short-term and long-term post-exertional malaise, and we really missed the immediate until fairly recently. The last couple of years, we started to really focus in on, there is an immediate consequence to overdoing physical activity or other stressors. And that has led us to the development of this time course for ME/CFS. And we just published on this last month, is based on this data set and 2 other data sets, where we had patients do a cardiopulmonary exercise test 2 days in a row, and then asked them how they felt immediately, the next day, and beyond. And the symptoms clustered. And this was really interesting because we did ask patients how they felt immediately. And the consequence of overusing that bunny, of anaerobic, exceeding the anaerobic threshold, makes you stop the test. It does so for healthy people too. But the symptoms are different in immediate PIM versus short-term and long-term PIM. So immediate post-exertional malaise reflects exceeding the anaerobic threshold, right? Overusing your bunny. Now, post-exertional malaise can be caused by other overload, being upright too long, sensory overload, cognitive, emotional. So other stressors can cause this. These symptoms are in direct response to the physical stress of an exercise test. When we move into short-term PIM, this lasts for 2 to 4 days. And now it reflects both exceeding the anaerobic threshold for extended periods or multiple times. Now you've overused your bunny not just in a single instance, but too many times. And then you begin involving the brain, the heart and lungs. And these symptoms these different systems express different symptoms. And they may include things like brain fog. So now you're getting the cognitive issues, the sleep problems, headaches, pain. This is the 2 to 4 day response. And so ask yourself, when you have PIM, what are your symptoms immediately? Do they change in the 2 to 4 day window for short-term PIM? Long-term PIM is really what you want to stay out of. And that lasts 7 days or longer. It reflects a sustained immune response that is consistent with long-term damage to the aerobic energy system. Okay, so now your turtle is sick. You've made your turtle really, really sick. She is inside her cell and she's not coming out to give you any energy to do things because she has a sustained immune response. Symptoms here are flu-like, cardiopulmonary. You're just down. You can't get up. You feel bad. Now, why I'm excited about these symptoms and their time course is that if you can identify them, if you can stay out of long-term PIM and keep yourself in immediate and short-term PIM, and you understand that there's problems with energy systems, that they're not working, that that turtle is broken, and you're relying on your bunny to do all your daily activities, and just that alone causes symptoms, here's the aha moment. You can begin to prevent those symptoms. So symptom identification and understanding combined with good energy conservation techniques can open up a world for you. The other thing I want to mention is that there are energy types. And I alluded to this before, but as you begin to layer different types of energy, physical, cognitive, they become more exhausting and can cause more PIM. Each and every one of these in and of themselves can be absolutely exhausting. Take, for example, a wedding or funeral. When you begin to combine the different types of stress, it's even more tiring. And so if you can look at your activities and identify what type of stressors are involved, that you physically have to be there. If you cognitively have to listen to what somebody's saying and then interact with them, identify, is that a triple energy threat? If you have multiple energy threats, you can plan for that. You can plan to rest ahead of time and afterwards. You can balance that task. So just know that there are different types of energy, and if you can identify them and understand them, then again, you can give yourself more energy by setting yourself up for success. This slide I just added this morning, hot off the press. It is the very first National Institute of Health ME/CFS intramural study, and they just published an article on post-exertional malaise, which really emphasizes the slide I just had, which is cognitive effort, physical activities, and emotion. All of these things can precipitate PIM. The National Institutes of Health also has an energy conservation program developed for rheumatoid arthritis, but customized for fatigue, that I've been using for 19 years now. And actually, I found this program through Annette at a think tank she hosted back in 2001, and it's just a fantastic program. It has units on rest, body position, joint protection, and activity analysis. And these are all so helpful. Let's talk about each very briefly. Rest. Get an anti-gravity chair. It doesn't have to be expensive. Elevate those legs. Rest an hour a day. Plan a rest period. Even if you do not feel like it, even on your good days, whether you feel like it or not, rest an hour a day. And when you're resting, practice active rest. Resting, what it is not, is watching TV, being on your cell phone, texting, emailing, having a bunch of distractions. That's not restful. Power down when you rest. Relax. Maybe layer some breathing, listening to relaxing instrumental music. Do what's enjoyable for you and helps you really relax. But make sure that you're actively resting. I like the 20-10 rule, which is don't do any activity longer than 20 minutes without taking a 10-minute rest break. Now, that might be too much, and you may have to start with 2 minutes or 5 minutes and extend the rest period for 20 or 30 minutes or longer. But the idea is when you do an activity to think about it, to set a timer and plan a rest break. So reframe your activities in light of rest. And I've had patients tell me that just by resting an hour a day, they didn't realize they needed it. Their resting heart rate actually drops 10 beats just with this simple technique. Body position. Now, this is so essential in this illness. More research is coming out that there is poor blood flow to the brain in ME/CFS patients because of orthostatic intolerance. And this is affecting 70 to 90% of patients. Last year, we wrote a review article on chronotropic incompetence, which means that The heart rate response is not normal. It doesn't go up normally in ME/CFS. We did a review and found that this is the case in up to 80 to 90% of patients in all of the studies that have been done. Really, really high. If you don't have a normal heart rate response, what that means is blood is not getting distributed to the tissues. This is also a contributor to orthostatic intolerance, and this can cause PIMS. So I mentioned earlier that sitting down saves energy. Well, with orthostatic intolerance, you really have to consider body position and limiting your upright time. And so if you can lie down, again, this is that counterintuitive. Don't stand up if you can sit down. And if you can lie down, that's even better. So take all of the things that you're doing and ask yourself, can you do it sitting down? Can you do it lying down? Screen time, everybody has so much screen time right now. Make sure you're not bent over with a forward head. This can cause muscle tension and pain, and that drains muscle tension and poor body position, wastes energy. And muscle tension and pain also drains energy. So look at ways that you can correct your work heights. Bring your screen up to eye level. Don't look at your phone down here. Bring it up here. Just basic things that you can do. You can sit in a chair with arms and rest your arms on the armrests. Very simple things to correct your posture and change work heights can be really helpful in saving energy. Activity analysis is kind of tying it all together, but looking at what is your best time of day? What activities are you doing? You have to kind of plan. What are your activities? Keep a log for a couple of days. Identify what activities you're doing. And if you can eliminate an activity, if you can plan ahead for your day and your week for success. So not only balancing rest periods and activity, but balancing light and heavy tasks throughout the day and throughout the week so that you can get through your week successfully. You may have to give up some activities. So ask yourself, what can be done by a caregiver? Can somebody else do this? Or can you change or eliminate tasks to save energy? Joint and fatigue protection. Respect your pain, respect your fatigue. That can cause an immune response and cause more pain and more fatigue and flare you up. And you want to stay out of that long-term PIM. So if you're having pain or fatigue, respect it. You can use good body mechanics. Think about using your strongest joints. Pushing instead of pulling or lifting protects joints. If you can put items on rollers and roll things, that makes the task even easier. Using assistive devices is another really helpful energy saving tool. If you can sit down, use a wheelchair. Many walkers have seats, so you can use a walker for stability and then sit down if you need a rest break. Use a walking stick or a cane just to add more stability to walking. That's what people do when they go on hikes. Athletes use them all the time. You can use them too. Splints and braces for joints that are painful or are a problem, and a good physical or occupational therapist can help you with those. Home modification, I'm not going to spend much time on here except to say, think about each room in your house. This is the area of expertise for home health physical therapists or occupational therapists. Ideally, they would be ME literate, but they can come in and help you evaluate safety for each room in your house and how to practically do things using less energy or change your work environment, your home environment in each room of your home. I want to end with just a couple of ideas here. And that is, with a chronic illness, the first thing to go is anything that brings you joy, anything that you enjoy doing. Oh, you get upset, you can't do that anymore. So I want to encourage you to include those things in your life. There was a study at the recent IAA, International Association of CFS ME conference, that looked at pacing and measured heart rate variability, which is a sign of functionality essentially. And they found that those individuals that had more uplifting things in their lives, more positive interactions with friends, pets, family members, more things that they had to look forward to, actually, regardless of their pacing style, that was the group that improved their heart rate variability. And so you should improve it too. Don't take everything that's enjoyable just because you have a chronic illness. Don't lose those things. I would encourage you to add them. Find those things that are energy saving and promoting, and add one or two of them. Add them to your rest breaks. Plan to improve your well being as well as saving energy. And if you can get a twofer and do both, that's even better. Here are some of my favorite things. Here are a few of my favorite things. You may have to start small, and depending on how ill you are, only start with one thing at a time. But things like hydration are so important. Sunshine, being outdoors, prayer, being grateful. There's always something to be grateful. I love deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, taking an Epsom salt bath. So find one thing that makes you smile, that you can look forward to starting your day well and ending each day well. Again, you may have to start in very small increments, but if you can wake up and say, ooh, I'm going to do something that makes me smile, and you can end your day that way, I'm telling you, it will improve your heart rate variability. It'll make you feel better. You combine that with energy saving strategies, and you'll do so much better. Action plan. Here's the summary of our talk today. Do you understand why you have energy problems? Do you understand PIM? Because if you do, then you can begin to prevent them. Ask yourself, what is your first symptom of post-exertional malaise? Are you spending most of your time in immediate, short-term, or long-term PIM? Did you hear something today that you can add? Is there one energy-saving tip that you could think about doing? Can you modify your activities or body position to save energy? And then lastly, how do you start and end your day? Think about these things, and I hope you found one thing that can help you. Our website, we have additional resources. So we have short videos on graded exercise therapy, 5 to 15 minutes on PIM. We have webinars, we have handouts, one-page handouts, and I know Annette is working to provide those kind of resources and tools as well. If you have an occupational therapist, a physical therapist, a nurse that is interested in learning more, we've developed continuing education with MedBridge. They could take the course, get units, and know how to better help you. And then, of course, we have ongoing publications. Those can all be found at our website, workwellfoundation.org. Thank you again so much for your time and sharing your energy today with me. I'm really excited to get to the question and answers.
Thank you, Staci. We so appreciate all of your information, and thank you for the slide on the resources. We're going to go now to the question and answers. And Staci, are you able to see those on your page when you scroll down?
I am. Thanks.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Great. So I'm going to get through as many of these as I can. And like Annette said, if we don't get to all of them, she'll send them to me and we'll figure out how to get you answers. Perry asks, what's the latest research? Ari, gradual exercise vis-a-vis PEM. My MD insists on exercise. Okay, Perry, that is a great question. And that is a topic for another webinar. But we have if you go to our website, we have a one-page handout that you can give to your physician on graded exercise therapy and short videos. Aerobic exercise is the worst thing you can do in this illness when the aerobic energy system isn't working. PEM is the thing that you have to consider. If an activity or exercise causes you PEM, it is the wrong thing to do. We actually also have webinars where we talk about exercise, so you can check those out as well. Iris asks, related to Perry's questions, what are recommended movement strategies for recovering physical stamina and strength for severe homebound or partly bedbound patients? And again, I would say that we need to do a future webinar just on exercise, and we're heading in that direction. Start very, very slowly with very gentle stretching and strengthening, 30 seconds or less range of motion. So most people don't even think about the exercise that I'm recommending as exercise. We'll have to do a whole thing on this. Julie asks, where do we find the recording of this webinar? Annette is going to make that available and send it out to everyone that attended. So there will be a link, and Workwell will also send out an e-blast with the link when it becomes available. Thanks, Julie, for the question. Melissa asks, how do you develop a baseline of control to save energy? And I would say one step at a time. You know, I asked you to find one thing, one tip. Don't go crazy and do too many things at once. So if anything causes you to have symptoms, it's too much. You might be having a bad day, but if you add too many energy saving strategies or uplifting things to your day, it will cause PIM. You can overdo anything. And so just start adding one thing at a time. Start looking, adding your tips to save energy. Sit down in the shower. That would be the first thing that I would add. Sit down in the shower and use a terry cloth robe to dry off, and then keep adding those energy saving tips. Will the slides be available afterwards too? Yes, we can make them available. I will discuss that with Annette, and we will let you know how to access those. Mary Ellen says, problem with the sound. I'm so sorry, Mary Ellen. We will send the replay, and hopefully that won't be a problem. Kim asks, can I get the link to the PDF? I'm not sure which PDF. The top 10 energy saving tips, all of that is on our website under resources. And maybe we'll just send out an e-blast afterwards with all of the resources available that you can just directly click on. I don't know why efforts might make someone vomit, other than, actually, maybe I do. So if you overuse your bunny, which is your short-term energy system, that causes lactic acid. And just like an athlete would, if you keep pushing that system, it'll make you sick. And so you will get nauseous. And the difference is that for ME/CFS patients, activities of daily living is now like exercise. Remember, you're not using your turtle, you're using your bunny. And so if you keep pushing in that energy system, more and more lactate builds up. And if you keep it pushing, you will throw up. It's like that Nike ad. I don't know if you ever remember it. Just do it. And it had the runner bent over and vomiting on her shoes. What are short intervals once we start getting symptoms, or 30 seconds later? Well, once you have symptoms, it's a little bit too late. So the first step is to identify what is your first sign or symptom of PIM, and then identify how you feel right before that happens. So an athlete can do this with a heart rate monitor, identify their heart rate at their anaerobic threshold, and then know how they feel before they're entering in to that threshold. I'm not going to hit the weight management. That's sort of out of the purview. I'm going to try to stick to the exercise, or not exercise questions, but the activity management questions. How do I communicate to my doctor? I would again say we are developing resources, and I know the WPI is working on developing resources to help you communicate with your doctor. They can take our continuing education course. You can hand them our one-page handout on graded exercise therapy. There's a lot of great research. The NIH just published this great paper. Sussman and colleagues at the NIH intramural study published this paper on PIM. We published last month 3 papers, one on post-exertional malaise, one on the use of IV saline to improve function, and another on cardiopulmonary exercise testing. And so all of these links can be found on our website. Matt asks if we have any research on monitor aids such as Garmin, pulse ox, heart rate, etc. We do not have any research. That again is a separate webinar. It can be really helpful for activity pacing, which again is a separate topic. I would recommend, if you're looking to monitor your heart rate, that you use a heart rate monitor with a chest strap, because they're much more accurate. The others can be up to 30 beats off, so you want to stay away from just wristwatches. Lots of question about heart rate monitoring and anaerobic thresholds. So that's sort of out of the purview of the activity management, energy conservation. But stay tuned, because we will be following up with heart rate monitoring guide, as well as a heart rate monitoring webinar. Hey, I have got a great question from Joanne. Cooking can give me PEM. Any suggestions for cooking? Absolutely. So Joanne, what you want to do in the kitchen is use a stool, and any chopping or prep, do it sitting down. Also break that task into pieces and only go as long as you can before you get symptoms. So that might mean, instead of doing 20 minutes of cooking at a time, you do 5 minutes and take a break and rest, and then do another 5 minutes. Of course, with cooking, I always love the one pot, one pan meals. Throw it all in, press the button. It's magic. Yep, heart rate monitoring questions. Absolutely, we will hit those in another webinar. How much hydration is necessary? Sometimes large amounts seem commended. There was a great research presentation done at the last IACFS conference on oral rehydration versus IV saline in POTS patients, and many of the patients had ME/CFS, and they found that you can use an oral rehydration solution, and it's as effective as IV saline. We also just published a paper on chronic IV saline use that tremendously improved function, and that was using 1 liter of normal saline daily, which is hard to get. How much hydration is necessary? I would recommend that you go with an oral rehydration solution such as Normality, and they're recommending that you drink up to 1 liter. Tia says, my issue is staying awake after any task or when I'm working on the computer for work. Any suggestions? Well, it depends on how long you're doing your task. If you're having trouble staying awake, you may want to think about changing your body position. Lying down if you can, or on the computer, doing some computer work lying down, and using the 20-10 rule, or change that, maybe 5 or 10 minutes followed by a 20-minute rest break. There was a question in the chat that Lisa would like to ask. What if you're so bedridden but must go over your limits because you live alone and need to do things in the house? I would say start with energy conservation and build very, very slowly. There are things that you have to do, plan them, distribute them throughout your day and week, and then use as many energy saving tips as you can to change the activities. And we'll develop some resources, or in the process of developing more resources. So, for each room of the house, we'll try to come up with ideas for you that you can implement. And if you have great ideas, if you have great energy saving tips that you're using, please send them. I'm sure Annette would be happy to compile those and forward them on to me. I'm always looking for great tips. Perry says, I can't see the one pager on your site. If you go to workwellfoundation.org and go under resources, there are educational resources. I'm not sure what resources that WPI has available. I don't think ours are on their website, but that's where you would go. Maristella says that she can drink 7 liters of water per day during the summer. Can that be dangerous? Oh, yes, it can. So make sure, if you are increasing your volume loading, you need to have electrolytes. So that's why drinking an oral rehydration solution or getting IV saline is helpful. You need that salt. Otherwise, you're going to cause an electrolyte imbalance. So please, please talk to your healthcare provider about electrolyte replacement. Or use an oral rehydration solution. Make sure that you're not just drinking water. Okay, Ellen asks, how would you recommend to go about increasing activity in case of improvement while still being careful to avoid PIM? And I would say that is a beautiful question, because in order to increase activity, you want to do so without flaring up your symptoms. And so I always recommend that if you're going to start increasing activity, the first thing you need to do before you increase, especially if you're talking about exercise, is that you start with energy conservation, because you may have to eliminate many things and many tasks from your day in order to free up the energy you need before you add something in. And so that's why this energy conservation is this secret weapon. It allows you to free energy up, develop these lifestyle changes so that sitting becomes intuitive. Doing the counterintuitive, don't take the stairs, take the elevator. Those are the things you automatically do instead of pushing. You free up some energy, and then you can talk about adding a few things, whether they're uplifting things or whether they're strengthening activities, so that you can gradually get better and do more. But please always pay attention to your PIM so that you can stay in immediate and short-term and avoid long-term PIM. Okay, Russ says, I thought graded exercise was contraindicated for ME/CFS, and focus needs to be on pacing, planning, and rest, and what matters to me. Absolutely agree 100%. Graded exercise therapy is the worst thing that you can do, and it's not what we're talking about here. It will flare up your symptoms. It's what I recommend avoiding. So the focus is what we talked about today, and that is it should be on energy conservation. Hi, Roseanne. So nice to see you out there. Normalite is fantastic. I agree. That's one of the 2 oral rehydration solutions that Dr. Meadows recommended in his research presentation on oral rehydration solutions. We also offer it after 2-day CPET for our patients who are getting a disability evaluation if they can't get access to IV saline to drink Normalite. Okay. With sleep, Terry asked a question about a hard time falling asleep. One no cost, no medication thing you can do to help with sleep is, in addition to the uplifting things, before you go to sleep, instead of your mind racing and being stressed about everything that's going on, is do something uplifting before you go to sleep. And in the morning, believe it or not, if you can get outside and just get some natural light in your eyes, that actually produces melatonin and helps you sleep better at night. So that is my free suggestion. If you can't get outside, I'm in California from day to day, the air quality is hazardous. Go sit by an open window. And again, you can overdo this. So if you're severely ill, if you have photosensitivities, you can cover your eyes with a mask. Of course, you won't get light in your eyes that way, but you can get some sunlight, which helps to produce vitamin D. Both of these things will help you sleep better at night. Francis says, I'm seeing a physiotherapist, but keep going into PIM. I'm keeping my heart rate low, but still hitting PIM. Are there other limits other than heart rate that limit activity? Absolutely. Body position. You may be having PIM, Francis, just because it's too much for you to get into your appointment with physical therapy. Remember, just going somewhere is a multiple energy threat. Going to see a physical therapist is a triple or quadruple threat situation. You physically have to be there. You're sitting up. You have to listen to what they're saying. That's cognitive. You don't know if she's going to cause you or he's going to cause you PIM. So now you've got a little anxiety. That's emotional. So it's a multiple energy threat situation seeing any healthcare provider. And now that's a high risk, high energy threat situation that can cause PIM. So if you're still having PIM, even though your heart rate is low, listen to your symptoms. Orthostatic intolerance, any of these other things outside of the physical, outside of the heart rate can and will cause PIM. Just being upright too long can cause PIM. So you may have to go to a virtual appointment or reduce your appointments so that you can be more successful. Any clinical trials on the horizon? I'm sure there are. In fact, I think I saw one on Mestinon. That's sort of out of my area, but David Systrom is doing one with invasive CPET and Mestinon. Hi, Paula. Paula asks, are there other oral rehydration besides Normalite in those with cases with food sensitivities? I'm sure there are, Paula. I'm going to have to look them up. Normalite is what I recommend. And I know there was another, but I'll have to look up what it is that for oral rehydration. I know that in the talk with Dr. Meadows, dextrose was important. And there is a plain Normalite that doesn't have the other additives that may be better tolerated, but it does have dextrose. And so I thought it was really interesting in that talk that dextrose was a key player, that it's just not salt water that is needed, but you have to have that combination of electrolytes plus dextrose to get into the cells. Okay, I think that we have hit most of the questions and we're coming up on just about the end of the hour. Annette, do you have anything else?
Let me turn it down. So I wanted to thank you so much and thank everyone today that was able to listen along and join in, and especially if you were able to ask some questions. They were really helpful for the whole entire group. As we said before, if you want to send more questions along for Staci, you can either email Workwell Foundation or email us at info@wpinstitute.org, and we will send those on to Staci. Thank you again. Please fill out the poll at the bottom. We're going to give you just a couple minutes to do that before we stop the broadcast. And we hope that this was helpful to all of you. You gave us some wonderful ideas for future podcasts, and we will be talking about those and planning those. And I hope to see you and hear from you again soon. Thank you so much. And I will leave this on for just a few minutes so that you can answer your poll questions before we stop the broadcast. Are you there, Staci?
I am.
I wonder why I can't get you back up. Let me try this. There you are. Okay.
Yeah.
We have just about 1 minute to finish up. And again, I'm seeing so many thank yous. I can't, I'm so happy that you found this useful and that we were able to have you join us today. All righty, everyone take care, and we'll See you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, Stacy. Thank you.